All right, let's dive into something that trips up so many people in Linux, even folks who've been using it for a while. We're talking about the umask command and what it's really doing behind the scenes. So, you ever do this? You create a new file, you check its permissions, and you just stare at it, thinking, wait, why are the permissions that? It's a super common moment of confusion, and believe me, you are not alone. There's actually a really good reason for it, and it's all about how Linux keeps your stuff safe.
So let's treat this like a little puzzle. It's kind of like a classic Linux mystery, right? Who or what is making the call on the permissions for every single file you create?
Okay, the key to solving this puzzle is understanding that Linux is built with security first. I mean, can you imagine the chaos if every new file you made was just wide open for anyone to read and write to? It'd be a disaster. So to stop that from happening, there's something working in the background, kind of tightening up those permissions from the get-go. And that something, the answer to our puzzle, is called the umask. You can think of it like a gatekeeper or a bouncer for your new files. So what is umask really? Well, it's basically a default permission mask. And I love these analogies from the source material. A secret filter or an invisible shield, that's a great way to picture it. It's just a setting that automatically carves away or subtracts permissions right when a file or directory is born. You can try this right now. Seriously, pop open a terminal on pretty much any Linux system and just type umask. I'm willing to bet you're going to see this number, 0022. This is the super common default, and this one little number, well, it explains everything. Yup, that is the exact reason why your new files usually end up with 644 permissions and your new folders get 755. It's the whole reason things aren't just left wide open. So the big question is, how does a number like 0022 turn into those permissions? It actually all comes down to some really simple subtraction. Let's break down the math. And don't worry, it's way easier than it sounds. Okay, first we need a starting point, right? Before the umask even gets involved, you can think of Linux starting with a theoretical maximum. For files, that's 666, which means read and write for the user, the group, and everybody else. For directories, it's 777, which is the same thing but adds that execute permission so people can actually get into the directory. So here's how it works for a file. It's super straightforward. You start with that base permission, 666. Then you just subtract the umask, which is 022. And what do you get? 644. And that permission, rw-r-r, means you, the owner, can read and write. But your group and everyone else, they can only read. The umask just stripped away their ability to write to your file. And for folders, it's the exact same logic. We start with the full 777, we subtract our 022 umask, and boom, we land at 755. So the owner has full control, but the group and others can only read and execute, which is key because it means they can enter the directory, but they can't mess around and create new files in there. All right, so now you get the what and the how. Now let's get to the really cool part, how you can actually take control and change this behavior to make it work for you. First things first, you got to know what your current setting is. And this couldn't be easier. Just type umask in your terminal, hit enter, and it will spit out that 4-digit number we've been talking about. But what if that default 0022 isn't secure enough for you? What if you don't want anyone outside of your user and your group to even read your new files? Well, you can totally do that. By running umask 027, you're setting up a much stricter, much safer filter. And you can see the difference right here. The default 022 is, well, it's a balance. It's good for collaboration on a system with lots of users. But look what happens with 027. Your new files become 640. That 0 on the end is the magic part. It means others get nothing. No read, no write, no anything. They are completely locked out. That's a huge step up in security. Now here's a really important tip. If you just type umask 027 in your terminal, that change only lasts for that one session. Close the window, and it's gone. To make it stick, you need to add that line, umask 027, to your .bashrc file. That way, every time you open a new terminal, your safer umask is loaded up and ready to go. So let's kind of wrap this all up. Just by getting a handle on this one little command, you've basically unlocked a major piece of the Linux security puzzle. It's a big deal. You know, there's this quote in the source material that I love. It says, "You now know everything about permissions and users." Now, okay, that might be a slight exaggeration, but honestly, understanding umask puts you light years ahead. You're no longer guessing, you are in control. And really, that's the bottom line here. This isn't just some trivia you learn. This is a real, practical skill that lets you manage your system like a pro, and way more securely. So, you've nailed how to create files securely. What's next? Well, we're going to shift gears from files just sitting there to things that are actually happening. Join me next time, and we'll dive into how you can see everything your computer is doing right now by digging into processes. See you then.